PSA is like really different from school because I graduated this year and it's just like really different from what was in the classroom and like what we learned, because I honestly didn't know anything about the subsets, sets, classification, all of that. Even the shapes with the dimensions. It was interesting. The program and properties book, we did subjects such as position, space, size, and we like really learned how to like express ourselves like fully, because we never really were taught how to do it properly, even if it was the basics. And like with like dimension and the 3-dimension, 2-dimension, we never really were told how to define or like express ourselves properly.
Compared to school, it was a much more comfortable environment where the teacher wasn't always standing over you and making sure you'd done everything correctly. Whereas PSA, the teacher's kind of guiding you and have the approach of the teacher kind of has the approach, with the more of a tutor just to guide you along the process.
The atmosphere was like really good. Like nobody judged anybody. We could like freely speak our minds, even though some people were shy, including me. And yeah, I think education, or the education system should be like this, like grouping all these subjects into one, so we don't really classify anything as a subject. Yeah.
For me, it was quite refreshing because I've always considered a educational system that incorporated both the intellectual and the spiritual. So as we know, the Rookie Institute process is a spiritual educational system, and one that is very effective and also doesn't have that component of competition. As we know, it's very effective. And through our academic studies in schools and universities, I feel as though a great flaw is that number one is a fragmented approach to learning. So I guess through mathematics, science, English, history, geography, they're all separated and we don't see the links between those, and I guess in that a lot of the purpose of why we're studying is lost. And also another flaw in the educational system that I think we're all aware of is the degree of competition that we face. And so I was actually quite curious to see, because I couldn't actually imagine an educational system that was academic that didn't involve that aspect of competition. And I think the PSA program, quite in a very coherent way, it applied both the intellectual and the spiritual in an environment that was both participatory and encouraging, without any sort of degree of rivalry or competition between any of us. I thought that was quite significant, and also just the way that it was put together. I never really considered how the objects around us, the objects within the universe, and how the properties that they have can relate to the human spirit and the human soul, and how we can make those connections. And I think that's another thing that I really enjoyed about the PSA program.
PSA was eye-opening and stuff for me, because I don't know, explain. I learned more here than I would in school, and it's different from school because you don't have that much pressure. You don't have pressure to achieve a higher set or a higher point or something like that. I don't know, point, goal, and you don't have pressure and stuff on you, and you don't have to always contribute to a question if you don't want to. I think the teacher is putting pressure on you because they want you to achieve and do better, and then the tutor has probably already been through the situation, so they can assist you more and help more.
So some of the highlights for me is the PSA program. Straight from the top, it talks about the primary motivation just going into the seminar is to promote the well-being of our community. So, from the beginning, our motivation to learn, is not for ourselves. It's straight away. yeah, it's for our communities, which is completely, I guess, the opposite of, you know, modern education systems today in the world. It's all about, you know, how can I develop myself so I can get a better job and better occupation to get more money. It's also everything is centered around the self, whereas PSA, you know, which is designed for, yeah, I guess, you know, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, yeah, the junior youth, they're, you know, from beginning of high school, they're talking about, okay, how can I use the knowledge that I'm learning in this program or this curriculum and apply it to my community, rather than my own personal life. Yeah, just, you know, studying really, you know, seemingly basic concepts, and how it maybe shaped perhaps how I'm going to, I guess, evaluate my community. So, for example, the juniors program in Mount Druitt, I can view it in sets and subsets, and, you know, I can view it as, you know, different junior youth groups have different characteristics, and but even like analyzing statistics, I think we can be more specific about, you know, what we're looking for and what our goal is. Yeah, just how we're going to accompany, or what does an individual need to get to this level, or to be able to run a junior youth group effectively and sustain a junior youth group.
The experience has been really good. And in book 1, it says that regard men as mind-enriching gems of inestimable value, and doing PSA kind of helps unlock all those gems that we have hidden. I didn't know that I had so much capacity to do all these things. So it was really good. It was a really good experience. And yesterday we did this practice component where we went for home visits and just asked questions about, you know, people's views on what they hope for our future generation. And it was really good seeing their views. And it's kind of sad that they see it like that. I remember one person, he said he had no hope in our future generation. And it's saddening, and but it also encourages me more to try to prevent that from happening. And so when I get back, I'm going to start on my children's classes, so we can educate them and try and make them grow into more greater spiritual beings. And yeah.
One bit that I liked about PSA was when we used the clay when we were doing properties. I think it was the first book we did. We were learning about shape, space, position and stuff like that. And with the clay we had to make shapes and then describe the shapes that we made. When we described, we learned that we had 3 pieces of information, like the length, the height, the width and stuff like that. The purpose of it was to increase our vocabulary, kind of make us more articulate with our speech, because a lot of people tend to use non-descriptive words. It's just to broaden our language, I guess. It was different because it wasn't hard. It wasn't it had a lot of content in it, but it taught it to you in a way that you could understand.
I guess we did it because we actually learned how to express our voice, and because we know that we'll have to teach children and JY and youth that are our age how to do it, because we know that they don't really have a voice when they're younger, even nowadays, because they're used to not getting not being able to be to tell people what they think, how they feel. And the program will be really good because it'll teach them how to express themselves and articulate themselves better, because they don't really have a voice in this day and age yet.
The way in which PSA approaches science and religion is unique, in that rather than seeing them as two separate bodies of knowledge, it uses the methods found in science and then critically analyzes our reality, like helps us to understand our reality in a scientific way and approach things scientifically. So from I guess the way we see relations with two communities or people, or the way in which we analyze our surroundings, it's very scientific in its methods. But then it also is religious and not religious in the form of like a dogma or a set of rules or it I guess uses the spirit of religion or the concepts that Baha'u'llah and the manifestations of God have brought to us to enhance our understanding of the concepts, material concepts.
So part of the PSA activity, we learn about microregions. So we learn about our regions, like species and plants and animals and stuff. And then we also went out into the field, like in Mount Joy, and asked people, people we knew or randoms, about like where they see their future, like where they see children's future, and like where they see their community in the future and stuff like that. Some of them were concerned. Because they wanted better education for the schools, more help in the community. Other ones are like negative, sort of. Like they thought that kids in the future would be on drugs and like hooked on crime and be in jail and stuff like that.
The PSA program allows us to take control of our own learning and helps build understanding of all school subjects in a more precise way, to an extent that we are able to describe exactly what something is.
One thing I loved about studying the PSA, it really opened my mind to the things around me that live on this world other than myself and the human race. Like I didn't really know many things about the animals and parasites and things like that, and now I know how to classify them into different sets and rules and rosters, and I think that it will really benefit the community, also the schools as well. I think if junior youth were to study the PSA curriculum, they would really benefit because they would be able to describe things in a scientific way. Because some youth say that they're not really good at science or they suck at science, but then the PSA program really empowers the learner to be confident in how they speak, and their vocabulary is really higher than what they think they can achieve. It really builds confidence, I think.
Beginning PSA, so I've been working with a number of youth in my neighbourhood and I guess raising capacity through the studies of the institute process. And I found that, so we were all actually quite interested. We weren't sure what the PSA program involved. We knew that it involved both academic and spiritual, but we weren't sure what it looked like. And a lot of the youth that I've been working with have often complained and felt paralysed by the way that they've been treated through government, educational systems. And so just one observation that I made was I guess through the participation of everyone, it was valuable. Everyone's contribution was seen to have value, and that's one thing that I guess created a family ties between everyone. And I could just feel that they wanted to contribute. They knew what they were talking about. They felt empowered. Where they've often talked about, not feeling the need or wanting to go to school because they don't learn anything, because the teachers don't value them, or, I guess in these observations that I made, you can really see just how much energy that they were able to release, and often we don't see that, and often, these educational institutions, they cripple all of these youth, these students into thinking that they're incapable of contributing to the advancement of civilization. But really, we understand, and like through this program, we're able to see that each individual has a part to play. Each individual can contribute in one way or the other. And when no one has, like a lack of knowledge or understanding, or isn't, good at academic education, or isn't spiritual, and like that's one thing that became very clear to me. Just being able to see these youth in this process was something that was very rewarding, both for myself and for like the participants themselves.
PSA program, it kind of, I guess, makes us shift from almost, okay, how can we change our community, which is in itself a very important question to ask ourselves, but to make us shift to, okay, how can our community now contribute to the rest of the world or the rest of the country? What does, in this case, Mount Druitt, what does Mount Druitt have that can, I guess, give back to the community, or give back to the community at large? What does Mount Druitt have that other neighborhoods perhaps don't have? Or also, like in the PSA program, we were asked a lot to analyze our micro region, to look at the specific needs of our community, the specific issues. It allowed us to, I guess, identify very specific issues that are unique to Mount Druitt, and I guess the PSA program made us more aware of these things, and perhaps gave us a vision of, how can we, through using the junior youth program and the children's class program and the other core activities, how can we address the issues. For example, malnutrition in Mount Druitt. A lot of youth are, their diet consists of a lot of sugar, a lot of very unhealthy food. But maybe, how can we incorporate that into the core activities that are already there? How can we promote